YouTube, and welcome to Movie Man Dan, where I discuss movies all the time. This is going to be all about the new movies that I saw from 2023. Let's get started right away with the first movie that I saw last year, and that would be Megan. Megan is a robot that somehow gains sentience and becomes the newest version of Chucky. And we all knew that that was going to be the first thing they related it to, especially knowing that the most recent Child's Play interpretation in film was a robot. So yes, this was exactly where I expected it to go. But my God, there was some fantastic satire in the beginning that gave me hope. And as the movie dragged on and I almost fell asleep, or did fall asleep at least 3 times, I can say this movie was absolutely a waste of time. I'm happy to know that I saw it just so I could share all of this information to you. Don't see Megan if you like horror movies, good movies, fun movies, action movies, anything of that sort. There's only 3 scenes that actually matter in Megan. You can skip to those if you have it on a free streaming service. I promise you it's going to save you so much more time than watching this piece of shit. I give this an F. The next movie that I saw was Missing. Missing is an excellent film that was basically all shot with cameras in a completely different style. You know how you get found footage and then you have another genre where it's all online stuff, where it's like unfriended, so everybody's on screen the whole time? Well, it is exactly like that, except for the way that they actually do this movie with carrying on a story, a consistent one linear story that goes absolutely batshit crazy by the end. I was overly impressed to know that this is exactly one of the best movies, and that I have almost forgotten it by now, and that makes me say this movie gets a C. The next movie I saw was a complete surprise of 2023, 80 for Brady. 4 incredible Hollywood stars come together and actually act their asses off in a movie that I thought was going to be suggestive, in a movie that I thought was going to be stupid and ridiculous. And yes, there are stupid and ridiculous moments, but the movie knows exactly what it is. And by the end of it, if you don't have a tear coming out of your eye, I don't know if you're human. This movie is powerful in great ways. If you love football, it's great for you. If you love comedy, it's great for you. If you love any of the main actors, or actresses I should say in this case, I promise you're really going to enjoy this movie. It is such a great time, and it's great for families. If you have not seen it yet, please gather around as we just finished Super Bowl season. Watch this movie with your family if you love football, and feel that spirit, because we all felt it when we were in theaters. And by the end, make sure you got tissues near you. This movie, 80 for Brady, gets a B. The next movie I saw in 2023 was Ant-Man 3. Otherwise known as Ant-Man Quantumania. This was a bad MCU year. I just did not have any hope as it was, but knowing all the shit that was on the list of things I do not care about whatsoever, the only movie I actually gave a shit about was Guardians, and we'll get to that, don't worry, but Ant-Man was just a major letdown for me. I have no interest in seeing someone recreate a New Hope, Mos Eisley Cantina scene, and that's exactly what they did in this movie. They have an over-preachy daughter character that gives no respect to her father, who literally saved the entire universe in the last movie that he was in. Ant-Man just does not make sense to be against the main villain of the next Avengers movie, Kang, and knowing all the things going on behind the scenes with Jonathan Majors causing all of this drama behind the scenes, and trauma, if you will, as well. It's just very, very bad, and knowing that Ant-Man was able to kick his ass in his first movie with him is just showing how weak this villain's going to be, even if they stuck with Jonathan Majors. But I have absolutely no interest in the MCU. Ant-Man, for some strange reason, got a D+. I'm gonna put that down to a D. Cocaine Bear. Cocaine Bear is a crazy, crazy, crazy movie, as all of the hype was around the bear attack and the hospital or ambulance getting away scene and all of the gore and all of the violence. So I was strategically setting myself up to know that this was going to be extremely violent and just all about the bear. So when I got over 40% of the movie with these human characters that do not matter to the plot whatsoever, way too many backstories from each character, and sometimes parts of the bear's story. I was like, I'm done. I don't care about this at all. There's nothing for me here. It feels like this movie is like a very off-brand Yogi Bear kind of thing, and then it just goes batshit crazy as it continues. And that's what I expected, seeing that it's called Cocaine Bear. It's a bear on cocaine. It sounds like a ridiculous idea, but they didn't really push it that far, and they were so much more focused on the human characters. So highly recommend skipping this movie if you have not seen it. Other people really enjoy it. Maybe you have to be on cocaine to like it, but I was not, and I did not like this movie. This movie gets a D. Creed 3 is something that I actually did get to see in theaters. I was looking forward to this because I knew that I'm really on board with anything Michael B. Jordan is doing, except for Fantastic. I will say that he's a fantastic actor, and I wanted to see how he did directing-wise here. A lot of people were saying that it was based in anime, and there was a few moments where it was like, I don't see the anime in this, I just see this as a weird direction. That's all I could say. And the story of it, once again, featuring the wonderful Jonathan Majors, who is totally not a piece of shit right now whatsoever. Yeah, he was part of the story, and he just seemed like a character that was way too vengeful of something that had nothing to do with the impact that he had on this story was basically forced into the script. It just felt like he didn't need to be there, and when they made him the aggressive antagonist, I was like, really? That's what we're doing here? We're not really going to do anything else? Like, you get rid of Rocky, and we're stuck with this brand new guy, and now he somehow has history, which retcons everything in the second movie or the first movie, which were much better in my opinion. This movie was fine. It was not the best of the Creed series or the Rocky series. I would say this gets a C. However, I'm going to push it down to a C- just because I can barely remember the plot, and that is not a good sign, as I said before. Once again, Creed 3 gets a C. Scream 6. Or another movie that you get to see Scream as the title, but you have to figure out where the number is going to be. Because the last time they did Scream, that was Scream 5, but it just said Scream. This one says Scream, but it has the VI at the end. Ooh, so creative. I love the detective aspect, the whodunit aspect of it. And I love Scream, the first movie. It blew my mind the first time I saw it, which was just a couple of years back. So much so that I bought the entire collection, saw all of the new movies multiple times so I can make sure that I had all of my criticism correct. And for this one, I have to say that this movie is a C. Unfortunately, it is definitely not my top 3, not my top 4. I think this might be the 5th worst movie. You start off with Ghostface, and it's not the real Ghostface, it's some other Ghostface that's playing Ghostface in tribute to Ghostface. So the movie's aware that Ghostface exists. Cool. Then you get all of our other characters who completely go through hell. All of their worst nightmares could happen. Once again, Ghostface is somehow able to track them down, and they're personally getting involved in their business. And now all of these friends are fighting for their lives and trying to get out of this small apartment, and a lot of logical things just don't make sense. I'm really excited to see them finish this so that they can just put the nail in the coffin, say, we did the same thing with Halloween, we did the same thing with Star Wars, let's just stop remaking bullshit, let's stop continuing stories and ruining franchises, please and thank you. Nobody dies, that's all I'm gonna say. Nobody dies. The main reveal was the dumbest thing ever. Some guy with a gun who was fully loaded ran at another person that didn't have a gun and said, "Ah, fuck you!" Yeah, I'll never forget that. Thank you for that, all of you comedians out there that are writing these Scream movies. I know you're not trying to write comedy, but you literally made comedy on the screen. I don't know why you greenlit that specific part. It was so incredibly stupid, and then after that, everyone's overacting, and it was just ridiculously over the top. Definitely not my favorite type of Scream. I love Sidney Prescott. I don't have to have Sydney, but I need to have somebody that's very like her, and I'm not falling in love with either of the main characters, and they've now been replaced or have left the project whatsoever, so I'm going to see exactly what they can actually do when it comes to a cast of people that give a shit about the franchise. That's what I'm excited for next. We'll see what we have. Hopefully a return for Matthew Lillard. That would be incredible to finish off with Matthew Lillard as the main villain. The next movie I saw was Shazam 2. Shazam 2 is one of the most forgettable DCEU movies. The way that the kid is, the way that Shazam is, they do not play into the same characteristics. And that is the main issue. You do not have the same character when he's in the suit versus out of the suit. And that is a main problem. Also, the plot of this is ridiculous. The product placement is insane. I forgot to mention all of that when I was originally going to tell everyone my review on it. But now that I was listening to the Media Drone podcast, which you guys should go and check out on Spotify, I promise that you're not going to be disappointed. If you love movies, go to check them out in the description right down below. They talked about all the product placement in that movie, and it is insane. So yeah, just all I will ever remember is that there's a giant dome and a dragon, and it's trying to kill Shazam. The next movie is John Wick 4, the final chapter. This is a spoiler for everybody. This is the final John Wick movie where John Wick is the main character as far as I know. This movie was awesome. Stuck the landing, insane stunt work, insane action scenes constantly, adrenaline pushing, just your blood pumping all the time. So much fun with every single scene, and all the music in it was so memorable as well. I'll never forget the dance club scene where everyone continues dancing while the fight is going on, and they don't care at all about anything. It's just, you know, just keep dancing. Two guys are killing each other. Who cares? Just keep dancing. John Wick 4 has currently taken my title as my favorite movie of last year. That being said, John Wick 4 being my favorite movie does not make it a perfect movie. Even though it has a little bit of flaws here and there, I still fantastically find this movie as the most entertaining thing of 2023, and that is why I give it an A-. The next movie I saw was Dungeons & Dragons with Chris Pine, one of my favorite actors to watch on the screen. I can say that Chris Pine here was fantastic, exactly as I wanted him to be. He's a pretty stoic character with a good, sassy, sarcastic attitude that I'm really into, and the movie had some fantastic plays with humor. Dungeons & Dragons is a very hard movie for me to follow just because I don't really understand the lore of it. I know that the movie was explaining a lot, but at the same time, I really can't comprehend it instantly, so it was so much to see at once. There were some cartoony moments at the end that did not really make sense considering the stakes for the characters. D&D gets a C, and by dropping this down to a C- means the next movie has to drop down to a D+, and that is the Super Mario Bros. Wow, what a movie to give us perfect nostalgia. Every single throwback thing in the book was given to us here. The music was here, the animation was here, the levels were here, the characters were here. The entire reason that Mario, like, survives the way that he does, the survival tactics that he has to face when he's training with Peach, all of that. We got Donkey Kong, we got Mario Kart Racing, we got Incredible Bowser and freaking Jack Black doing Peaches. I love it. I think it's amazing. However, it is far from perfect. It is far from a great movie. It is far from even a good movie. And the reason that we love it so much is basically only the nostalgia factor. If you don't have that specifically, the story doesn't make any sense. I watched this 3 times, I believe. And yeah, watching it the 3rd time made it very clear to me that this was not going to be anything close to the John Wick perspective that I had earlier, where I wanted to have this just perfect end to a story, or just perfect character development in a perfect world-building environment that this movie could do. And Mario was just like, hey, remember this? Hey, remember this? And it was just, you know, perfect for the first time. But then after that, you gotta see it as a movie. That's all I gotta say. For the fans of Mario, I promise you will not be disappointed if you go and see this. No matter what I rate something, if you want to go and see it for yourself. Mario gets D+, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Which I believe is the final Guardians of the Galaxy, knowing that James Gunn is now part of the DCEU, or whatever he's going to call it. I'm excited to see what he does with that, but knowing that this is how he left on a high note, I'm very happy to say this movie gets a B. Reason 4, I've watched it 3 times. It took my 3rd time to finally realize that I liked it. If you want to go for the same vibe, probably don't watch the 3rd one. Just stop at Endgame. You're good after that. You don't need to see anything except for the holiday special. That's really fun. I actually like that. Guardians of the Galaxy gets a B. The acting in it was phenomenal. I don't like that Zoe Saldana has to keep reprising the same role, and like I don't know what kind of makeup work they're doing, but like her cheekbones got a little bit higher, and the makeup just showed that it was just a little bit older Gamora. And I guess that you can say yes, it's a little bit older, but when you're going from a timeline where it's like back-to-back events, you're going from straight from the first movie 2014 into the second movie 2017 into Infinity War and Endgame, all of that. They're not feeling the time change. As far as I know, they got snapped away, most of them. So it's just like, how can you possibly explain how people just look a little different, right? And I know in reality, we're seeing actors and they're portraying characters, but for me, I want the story to feel exactly the same, and I don't like noticing those things. It's not bad. It's definitely not the worst that Marvel's done, so Guardians of the Galaxy 3, once again, gets a B. The next movie I saw was a complete surprise to me. I loved this comedian just a couple of years ago when I first found him. That is Sebastian Maniscalco, and his new movie About My Father, featuring Robert De Niro and a couple of other great actors. This movie was wacky, it was ridiculous, it was expected humor, it was using some of his stand-up jokes and getting to see it in real life. And because it's Sebastian Maniscalco, because I'm personally biased for his comedy and I enjoy his comedy, I can say that this movie gets a C+, because it just makes you feel good. It's perfect for Father's Day. It's a good comedy thing, especially if you enjoy Sebastian's form of comedy and just the way that he says his jokes, the delivery that he has. It's a fun movie, and it's a really good time to go and see something with your dad that's not just an action movie, and just have a good time laughing. And, you know, it's like a ridiculous, fun, simple, harmless film. And yeah, I could say I had a good time. I own it now, and I would rewatch it any day, because it's just that good. Once again, a C+ for About My Father. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the second movie in the Spider-Verse trilogy that they're doing with Miles Morales. I was overjoyed to see incredible animation once again. Everyone talked about the first movie and said it was some masterpiece. Said the story was the best thing in the world. And for the first time that I saw it, I didn't really see that because I was too overwhelmed with how much animation styles there were and how much texture that I was witnessing on screen. So it was very hard to keep my eyes on the screen because it was just so overwhelming to see that at first. This movie, the story is perfect, the animation is awesome, and now we get this sequel. And how does this movie go? It freaking complements almost everything going on in Into the Spider-Verse. I was so incredibly happy to know that they actually knocked it out of the park again, because Sony is not great with Spider-Man stuff when it comes to their live action, and they finally did something right here, and it just showed all over the screen how much they care about everything. Plus, you get so much nostalgia and so many little Easter eggs if you're comic book fans and you just love the specific types of animation of Spider-Man over the years. The multiverse is insane. The story was awesome. I think I can still remember most of it, and that's something I can't say for all of the movies on this list. So it's something that impacted me. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. I'm a huge fan of the Miles Morales story just because I saw Into the Spider-Verse and I wanted to see what they would do next, and I can say that I'm all on board to see how they finish this trilogy, and hopefully it goes on even longer, because I think this is the best thing Sony has made when it comes to Spider-Man since the original Spider-Man trilogy without that third movie way back in the 2000s. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse also receives A-. Transformers Rise of the Beasts. This movie was kind of everything I wanted it to be. A lot of other people were not fond of the things that they saw on screen, not fond of characters, not fond of humans and all of that shit. But for me, it felt like it was just redoing what I loved about the first Transformers movie back in 2007, directed by Michael Bay. It just felt like that again, but it felt like with a fresher feel and actually giving the humans something to do by the end, and just the acting and the music was so awesome. I love 90s hip-hop, and it was all the way over this movie, and the way that they finished this movie with a cliffhanger of like connecting another universe with this, like having a multiverse is like the most popular thing right now. Giant spoiler, be careful, look out, it's coming at you right here. G.I. Joe is going to be entering into the Transformers universe. I am so excited to see how both of these properties work together and how they're going to make them work together and how much fun we're going to have in the future. This movie was a fun movie. I had a great time with it. A lot of critics hated it. I don't give a shit. It got a B in my eyes. I had a great time and I felt awesome. I felt like a kid again. And I can say that only a few times every year. Either way, yes. Transformers Rise of the Beast gets a B. The Flash. I thought from the first scene, I was like, wow, they're playing Chicago. I love the band and I grew up on them. This movie's made for me. I watched the Flash show. I was like, okay, let's see. Everything about this movie is an absolute slap in the face to what I loved about the Flash TV show. Having a fun time with the group of characters at Star Labs, whether they're real or not when it comes to the lore, like Mr. Wells. I didn't have that experience, but at least I wanted something like that with this Flash. Just something, but they gave me nothing. They went back in time, they changed everything, and then we got one of the worst CG moments so many times in this movie, seeing that stupid sand thing that they were running through the sands of time and the fucking terrible looking clones of everyone and just like awful things that even the director or the person who made video was the director of photography or something like that. They were like, oh, it was supposed to be bad, you know, because it's a multiverse. Shut up, fuck up, dude. You don't know anything about cinema if you're making your movie look like shit and making the excuse that it's supposed to look like shit. Who says that? If you see that it's shit, just take the fucking L and just say, okay, well, you know, that was our mistake. Fuck this movie, fuck Ezra Miller, fuck everyone that was part of this production. They fucking suck. I hope that they never have a chance to make another one. They suck at everything. Just please stop making film. Flash gets a nice solid F. Fuck the Flash. It's Elemental with the incredible casting. I really enjoyed this movie overall. I can say a lot of people are not a big fan of the new Pixar, and I was one of them until I saw Elemental. It was just a really cute, fun, romantic kind of movie, and you really don't get that much from Pixar. Like, you know, sometimes you're gonna get those tearjerker moments, but it's usually family-based. It's usually not a date. So this was like a really nice twist when it comes to the Pixar formula to give us a rom-com feel. And they also did the Zootopia, and they also did the Prejudice thing. But at the same time, like I said, the acting was so good behind the scenes, and I'm all about voice actors that can pull off characters and just bring characters to life. All of these other things that Disney's done with the race changing and all these gender switches and all of that, it's just like, whatever. But with this movie, it freaking works. Like, the way that this actor was chosen to play this character is just excellent. And the way they animated the water, the freaking animation for the fire people especially, the whole entire like look of how they walk and talk, and I just loved it. It was such a cool look and just so different. And like I said, it definitely had the Zootopia feel at times. And yeah, the plot is not perfect, but it's not gonna be. It's a freaking, you know, Pixar and, you know, just family fun, kid fun kind of movie. Elemental gets a B. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Oh my god. What a film. Wow. Look at this. They actually took a freaking chance, as opposed to just showing us some random aliens in the middle of a room, instead of just, you know, the regular Holy Grail kind of thing, or the big reveal that it's all inside this chest. We actually got to go to a new location, going through time. That was cool. So that is why the movie gets a D- instead of an F. But everything else about this movie is so incredibly bad, so incredibly hard to watch, and so not worth your money. Do not pay any money to see this movie. Do not go on Disney Plus and give any streams to this movie. It is just a massacre of what Indiana Jones originally was. The next movie I saw was Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Talky. It was really talky. There was a lot of talking going on, and the action was great, but then it was just more talking again. And I couldn't care less. I was like, please just get to the point. Stop walking around this secret club with the big boss lady and, like, you know, all of that. It's just, it didn't make any sense. The stunt work, of course, amazing. Tom Cruise is always amazing. but I really enjoyed him in Fallout way more than I enjoyed him in this movie. That's all I can get out of these movies. It's like, Simon Pegg and Tom Cruise, they're funny people. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 gets a C. The Incredible TMNT movie. Now, I don't know if it was my theater or if it's just a choice of animation, but whoever is behind the scenes of these new movies with the stop action type of filmography, whatever they're doing with this version of film is bothering the shit out of me. All of the words that you obviously could tell they animated in order to match what was being like literally said into microphones. They had all of the facial expressions and mouth movements. All of them were a second off the whole movie. Make the voices match the mouth. This is not Pokemon. What are we doing here? The movie was just gross. It looked gross. I didn't like it personally, and that's my own personal choice. I don't have any history with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in any capacity except for video games. So I know basically nothing except for like who wears what color. I'm just not into the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I really don't have a personal bias towards or against it. So if you really enjoy some nice younger versions of the actual teens being teens, this is a great movie for that. A lot of critics were talking about how the slang was used, and it'll probably be outdated, but they're happy that the kids were being kids as opposed to being written into this adult role as they have in most of the other Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle properties. For me, yeah, this is just weird looking, and the sound not being able to match anything was really an irritating thing that I could not get off my mind the entire time I was watching. TMNT gets a C-. Blue Beetle. This is Iron Man to a T. There is so many Iron Man moments. There's so many Spider-Man moments. There's so many Shazam moments, and the family aspect, the Fast and Furious family aspect, and the weird, like, we kill people, but we don't kill people because we're superheroes, but it's okay for other people to kill people that we know because they're cool, and now, you know, it's no big deal because they kill people and we kill people and everyone kills people. It's like, no, just figure out what your morals are, stick to those, and make sure the characters stick to them as well. The suit itself looked like Iron Man. I had no expectations whatsoever. I don't really know much about the DC universe as it is. I know Blue Beetle is a character in Injustice. That's as far as I know with the character, so yeah. Zolo is fantastic in Cobra Kai. That's all I can say. I don't have any interest in seeing another one of these movies. And yeah, that's it. You made a movie, and it means nothing because it ended one of the worst franchises, the DCEU. Blue Beetle gets a D+. D+. Yeah, I had some fun moments, but it was so generic that it's impossible to go anything higher than a D. Equalizer 3. This movie felt like Denzel, master actor, great person, fantastic, right? I'm not gonna diss him at all. Is getting older. No offense, once again, to Denzel. He's one of my favorite actors, and I would never diss his work, but he's being surrounded by people who do not want to attack him. It's like, come on, just hold him back, hold him down. Just because he's old doesn't mean you can't beat him up. Like, I don't understand. What is the point in having an old actor if you can't make him an action star? What is the point in having him in an action movie? Just say, okay, the F franchise ended in the second one, and that's it. Stop making more and pushing people past their limit. Equalizer gets a C-. Next movie is My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. I'm okay with saying that the only movie that matters in the Big Fat Greek franchise is the first one. I think it's just got the best music, the best way of shooting things, the best awkward moments and stuff. The second movie is so slow and so expected, and this movie is so Greek. My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 gets a D. Extraction. I don't remember it much at all. I don't remember the plot. And I did watch this one with a lot more attention. I was somewhat impressed. I don't know what I was impressed by because I can't remember it. And based on that fact alone, this is dropping down to a C. Congratulations, Extraction. I can't remember your movie. Old Dads is a must-see if you don't mind offensive comedy that is brutally honest, and I don't mind it whatsoever. The comedy alone, amazing. I loved the timing. I loved the fact they were roasting every generation. It was just fun to watch that. This movie had a pretty great message when it came to having anger issues and ego, dealing with new changing environments in workspaces, and just the way that the society is accepting or not accepting some things that it used to. It's such a good movie for like just showing a part of culture that has been outcasted for so long, just being yourself and thinking the way you do, as brutal as it could be. It's you. And for me, I was just like, great job, Bill Burr. Whatever you did here, man, I am all on board to see what you do next. I had a really good time with this movie. This is my third favorite movie of the year, an A- for old dads. Go and watch it on Netflix as soon as you can. Aquaman 2. Oh, Aquaman 2. This movie is exactly like the first one, except for the first one I enjoyed 10 times more. I had a great time with it. I think that the sequel did not hold up as well as the first one, and just taking the Iron Man line at the end of the movie was just a poor taste. But, you know, Jason Momoa can be whatever he wants to be, and there's a whole lot of Amber Turd in this movie. That's all I can say is like one of the biggest flaws of it. But yeah, Aquaman, I gave a C+. I'm gonna drop that down to a C-. I really don't think I'm gonna remember this movie anytime soon, and I know that it means nothing to the story anyway, because this was the final straw for the DCEU, and yeah, it makes sense. They are completely out of ideas. They have given up on everything, and it's fine. They're done. What happens later? A romantic comedy with Meg Ryan, a guy that plays basically a stick in the mud. He is one of the weirdest characters I've ever seen in one of these rom-coms. And it bases everything in one setting. By the end, this movie was pretty okay. It wasn't bad, I could say. There were some horrible, like, first moments where I was just like, this is so awkward and stupid, and like, why is this made? But by the end of it, I was like, okay, well, I didn't see that coming, and oh, okay, well, they had a good shot there. And as the movie progresses, you're thinking you've already figured it all out, and at that point in the movie, they continue with another hour. This was a rated R movie, so there's a little bit of F words here and there. Some random crudeness that didn't need to be there. Some hatred, disdain for a past lover. What happens later? You did not get a D. You got a C-. That is all of the movies of 2023. I hope you guys had a great time with me as I relive all of the trauma and fun and little bits of pure joy that I got from 2023. If you guys enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like. Let me know in the comments right down below what other movies you would like me to review, and I hope you have a wonderful night and stay safe out there.